Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Relationship Theory. I am your neurotypical empath, and today we're going to be talking about what it means to have an ego. Here at TRT, we take thoughts in, we break them down, we build them up, and we play them out. Today, we're going to be talking about what it means to have an ego. Right from the start, I have to say, it's not as dramatic as you think it is. Having an ego is not as dramatic as you think it is. And it's not because so many people make it sound like having an ego is a self-centric, self-centered dilemma, and you're in everyone's way, and you're imposing yourself upon everyone and everything, and you're obnoxious, and that's only half of the story. As always, having an ego is just like having a personality, but it's what you make of your ego that develops character and transforms ego into something of a personality. The ego needs to be tested. The ego needs to go through changes. The ego needs to go through attacks. It needs to learn how to absorb information. It needs to learn how to develop and cultivate itself into something that responds to the outside world. The ego is your mind embodied. And we have to understand it is possible for your ego to be broken. It is possible for your ego to be taken down. It absolutely is. But what we need to understand is that it's not the end of the world. Your ego is going to be shattered a lot of times. I cannot even put a number, but it's going to be shattered enough times. What you need to understand is that you need to be able to brave psychological attacks enough to get an identity around what it feels to be shattered. You need to be able to withstand psychological attacks enough to even say that you have an ego in the first place. Not a personality, not just yet. If it's too easy to shatter your personality, you still have an ego. It's a baby mind. That's what it is. So a lot of people struggle with this concept of an ego because they're still stuck on the self-centeredness and the obnoxiousness. On the other end of it, they're challenged because they can't even, most times, say that they need somebody. This is one of the easiest examples of someone who has not had their ego tested enough yet, where they can't even tell someone that they need someone. It breaks their ego to need something, which doesn't make any sense. Imagine doing that for food. Your ego is also centered around the food you eat. Imagine telling yourself that I don't need food to eat. You are going to starve and you are going to die. So we really need to reorient our ideas around what it means to have an ego, especially when it comes to the way we feed ourselves. What are you feeding yourself? That is teaching you how to have an ego. That is teaching yourself. It's teaching your ego how to adapt to the world outside of itself. So what are you feeding yourself? What are you reading? You don't have to read, but what are you reading? If you are, what do you see? When you go around the world, what do you hear? What are the sounds that come to mind? What do you smell? Where does your memories take you? When people respond to you, when people react to you, when people say things to you? How are you when people you don't know, when strangers interact with you? When they do something sudden that you don't like, when they do things you do like? How are you in all of these scenarios and many, many more? They become stories that you can tell to other people. But the way you react in that moment is what your ego is composed of. It's the story you get to tell everyone else. That is a personality. It's what everyone is comfortable with, everyone gets to experience in word form. That is your personality. Because how you tell your story is how you carry yourself. We need to get beyond the idea that having an ego means not needing anyone or anything beyond yourself. That's fundamental. It's rudimentary. The next level is being able to absorb and adapt and to improvise. Not all of the time as if this was theater or surviving in a wildlife in a strange habitat. Not like that. Not dramatically like that anyway. But simply being able to, when you cannot rely on your habits, when you cannot rely on the typical characteristics to get you through a day, your adaptability and your improvisation is exactly what helps you develop your ego, especially in new situations. You don't want to have a habit of falling back on old patterns for new things. You will stay trapped in that mindset, in that ego, in that personality for a very long time. And your ego has a time limit on certain things that will not serve you. Your ego has a time limit on certain characteristics and habits that might serve you in one place, but they will not serve you in another. And you need to have that part of adaptability that lets you know when to let go of certain things so that you can grab onto something new. It doesn't matter if you're looking forward to a new future. It really doesn't matter. What really matters is your ability to adapt, improvise, and to let go of what does not help you in old situations. Not old situations, but what does not help you in new situations. Your ego is actually a very healthy part of what it means to be human. And the good news is everyone has a developing ego. Everyone has a baby mind. We're all just trying to form an idea of what it means to be a human. First and foremost, not be a man or a woman, but a human that is able to experience and to understand information and to absorb information and to provide information. That kind of experience. Your ego is just trying to understand what it needs to do to comprehend things that it can know and things that it does not know and will come to know. It's all a cycle, but it's a very healthy cycle. It's like a snake shedding its skin. This is all part of the process. I don't mean to make this magical once again, but it is all part of the process. Whether you know what part of the process you're in or not, it helps greatly to know what part of the process that you're in. And make sure, above all, to enjoy the ride. This is TRT with your neurotypical empath. Enjoy your day.